This is Dr. Liz Lombardo. I was thinking what I might say to introduce her, but what more can you say than somebody who has the prescription for happiness? I think that's worth waiting for. Here's Dr. Lombardo with a prescription for happiness.
Thank you. Thank you. Such a pleasure to be here. Isn't this great? I'm learning so much stuff here. And it's also a pleasure to be here because I get to share with you the secret to happiness. The secret. Because you see, there's just one thing. There's just one thing that will bring us all more happiness. You want to know what it is? Yeah? You know, before I tell you, this is kind of a big deal, right? I'm not telling you that Toronto is a great city, something that everybody knows. This is new. This is revolutionary. This is going to transform your life. And in the spirit of what we just did, I think it deserves a little drum roll. So let's get a drum roll going. Here, on your lap, your stomach, your head, the head next to you. Let me hear it. Come on, let me hear it. Here we go. The secret to the drum roll, please. Thank you. The secret to a happier you is get a smaller butt. Now, please notice this is not the four-letter version of butt. So all of you thinking it's going to be some Freudian discussion about your derriere, not going to happen. Get a smaller butt. What do I mean by that? But 3 words, 3 letters, excuse me. I lived in Dallas, Texas for about 8 years. How many of you have ever been to Texas or heard someone from Texas speak? I was always amazed at how Texans can take a 3-letter word and make it a 2 or 3 syllable word, right? So for them, this word might be but, and they got a little attitude down there, but, try that with me. But, oh nice, little finger wag, but, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention, this is the participatory part of my discussion. So let's hear your but. Awesome. Now there's one of me and there are a couple hundred of you, so I'm gonna need some help. When I point to you, you're gonna give me your loudest, but. Oh, nice. Okay, so what do I mean by get a smaller butt? I wanna be happier. I don't have enough money. I can't buy the things I want to be happy. So I can't be happy. Or I want to be happier. You're good. You do not know what my husband does behind closed doors, right? Or my children complain. The people in my life, if it weren't for the people in my life, then I would be happy. Or I want to be happier. My health isn't great. You know, I've got aches and pains, or I'm dealing with this illness, or my waistline isn't what I want it to be. I want to be happier. My life isn't what it should be. It isn't what it should be. Ooh, as a shrink, I don't like the word should. Or its cousins, ought and must. I lump them together in masturbation. Masturbation. And if your mama didn't teach you that masturbation is a sin, it is. But I digress. My life isn't what it should be. How many of you have ever been wronged by someone? And maybe it was yourself, maybe it was someone else. So often I hear my clients say, I want to be happy, but my life isn't the way it should be. They really messed it up. Or maybe I want to be happier. Oh, nice. I ain't young anymore, right? I got wrinkles places I didn't even know I had skin. Okay, that's not necessarily us because the Zoomers, we know that that isn't a factor. But my question to you all is this. What's your butt? What's your butt? When you think about, I want to be happier, but what comes to mind? And for goodness sakes, if it's the person sitting next to you, don't say it out loud. We don't have time for couples therapy here today. But really, what's your mountain? What's your mountain that's in the way of your happiness? What I want to talk to you about today is how to get a smaller butt. But even before we do that, let's talk about why. Right? Because in order to change, we not only have to know how to do it, we've got to know why. What's in it for me? So here are some reasons of why you may want to get a smaller butt. Less stress and more happiness. That sounds pretty good, right? Right here and right now, and for the rest of your life, you can have less stress and more happiness. Better health. better health. There's a whole field of study called psychoneuroimmunology, which is a really long way of saying stress affects your body. And we're more susceptible to illness and disease when we have a big butt, when we have a lot of stress. Better sleep. How many of you have ever had trouble falling asleep? Right? 62% of us do, so it's not uncommon. When we don't get the sleep that we need, it's not just, I'm tired. It can affect everything, right? It affects our brain and how productive we are, how creative we are. It affects our relationships. The research shows it also causes us to gain weight. So getting good sleep is important. Improve relationships. When we have a smaller butt, when we have more happiness, we're going to have better relationships. We're more likely to see the positive in our loved ones. Improved memory. We've talked a bit about memory today. There's a structure in our brain called the hippocampus, which we've kind of talked about a little bit today. It's in charge of certain memories. And the research shows that when we have chronic stress, when our butt is very big, it literally shrinks in size. So there's a biological reason why you may not be able to remember things that isn't related to Alzheimer's. A longer, more prosperous life. Isn't that why we're here today? Because the research shows that happier people do live longer and they live more prosperous lives. So now hopefully we know why we want to get a smaller butt. Let's talk about how to do it. And there are three main ways. Get rid of your butt. Get rid of it. So if for you, your butt is diabetes that's not controlled, start to control it. Control your sugars and your activity level and what you're eating. Move your mountain out of the way. So sometimes we can get rid of our butt, but sometimes even if we get rid of our butt, it doesn't bring us more happiness. Let me give an example. How many of you think you could be more happy with $5 million? $10 million? $50 million? Right? Woman back there is like, I don't know, but I'd like to try, right? Here's what the research shows. Even people who win hundreds of millions of dollars, their happiness level increases initially, then it plateaus, and goes right back to where it was before. So sometimes getting rid of our butt isn't going to do it for us. So another approach would be to change your perspective. Change your perspective. My background is I'm a physical therapist and a clinical psychologist, and I've worked a lot with people who have dealt with loss, whether it's from a stroke or a spinal cord injury or an amputation. And there was one client who I worked with whose name was Roger. I'll never forget Roger. He was an electrician, and he'd been working on some wires that he thought were inactive, but they weren't, and he had a huge electrical current go through him. And burned him so severely that they had to take off his arms. They had to amputate his arms in order to live. And you can imagine, I get this consult and I'm thinking, what am I going to do for this guy? What am I going to do to help him cope with this? And I was thinking about it. I was standing at the door and I opened the door to his room and there was Roger sitting there with a huge smile on his face. And of course, as a shrink, I immediately thought, denial, right? But he wasn't in denial. Roger's focus wasn't on, I want to be happier, but I don't have arms. His focus was, I want to be happier, and my life has been saved. Because you see, Roger was focused not on the fact that he didn't have arms. He knew he didn't have arms. He knew he was going to have to learn a whole lot of new things about how to work with his feet. But his focus was on the fact that his life had been saved. And his perspective was, it had been saved for a reason. And he chose to enjoy every breath, every minute, every day of his life as a gift. That's pretty cool, huh? So think about that. If Roger can change his perspective on his butt, you think we could change our perspective on ours? Probably. And then the third way is to learn how to overcome your butt. How to overcome your butt. So we're going to talk about some skills to overcome your butt and be a happier you. And this is based on my best-selling book, A Happy You, Your Ultimate Prescription for Happiness. It's an A to Z of how to have less stress and more happiness, regardless of what's going on in life. Okay, so how to get a smaller butt. And I pulled out 3 different letters and rearranged them for age because I thought that would be appropriate for us. So let's look at 3 steps to overcoming your butt. The first one, A, stands for apply your strengths. Apply your strengths. When I was 7 years old, I took ballet class. It was probably after about 4 or 5 sessions that I realized I couldn't stand it. And I remember going up to my mom and pulling on her skirt and saying, "Mommy, please, please, please don't make me go to ballet anymore." And my mom, who is such a dear woman, looked at me so lovingly and said, "Elizabeth, you can do anything you set your mind to. You can do anything." And so we went back and forth like this for weeks and weeks, and because I was 7 and my mom went out. But we kept fighting about this. And finally, it was towards the end of the year, and we were having a big recital. And I started thinking about what my mom said. I can do anything I set my mind to. So I started practicing outside of class. And I'd be walking down the hallway to go to my class, and I'd be practicing my jetés, right? Or I'd be brushing my teeth, practicing my demi-pliés. And finally, the big day arrived. And the whole town came to this recital, and I donned my tutu, and I got on stage and performed to the best of my ability. And without bragging, I got a standing ovation. Well, I mean, the whole class got a standing ovation, but I was part of that. Seeing my jetés, you're not surprised. And my mom came backstage afterwards, and she ran up and gave me a hug and looked at me and said, "Elizabeth, you don't have to do ballet anymore." Turns out I'm really bad at ballet. It's true. We want to apply our strengths. Think about how you spend your day. How much of your day do you do things you don't like doing? How happy does that make you? Are there some things you're going to need to do? Yeah. I'm not suggesting you quit your job or move or completely transform your life yet. But think about, what are your strengths? What are your passions? What are you interested in? We talked earlier about volunteering. Maybe that's for you. Or learning a new skill. Or even just grabbing a good book and spending some time reading it. So applying your strengths. G stands for gratitude. Gratitude. As a society, we have a tendency to look at what's negative, what's wrong. In our loved ones, we're very, very able to point out what they aren't doing right. Or even when we look in the mirror, we might focus on what we don't like. We've all heard the age-old adage, glass half full versus half empty, right? Half full, you're an okay, so a couple people have heard this. Optimist. Half empty, you're a... My question to you all is, which is the truth? Which is the truth? Is it half full or is it half empty? And the answer, of course, is both. It's both. So I'm not suggesting you try to adopt a Pollyanna view of life, like, I'm so happy my husband just ran away with a 20-year-old. Right? That's delusional. Okay, then you need to see me and my couch. What I am talking about is starting to focus on the good stuff that's already there, right? Think about Roger. Or think about this. If you lost it all tomorrow, what would you miss most about today? If you lost it all tomorrow, what would you miss most about today? And then what I want you to do is I want you to write that down. I want you to write down every single night 3 positive things that happened to you. You can write it on a slip of paper, a Word document, the back of the person who's lying next to you. It doesn't matter. Start to write that down. And I will tell you this, shrinks do not like to guarantee, but I'm going to make you a guarantee. If you do this for 30 days, your happiness level will start to increase because you start to focus on the positive. More positive comes into your life. Gratitude and appreciation is key. And then the E stands for exercise. You might have thought that would be for the 4-letter but this is in fact for us too. We just saw how fun exercise can be. The research shows that exercise is as effective as antidepressant medications for people who are depressed. Exercise reduces our stress and anxiety. It helps boost our self-confidence. It lets us sleep better at night. It even enhances your libido. Guy back there is like, note to self. Take wife for walk after dinner. Exercise. And as we saw, exercise can be fun. It doesn't have to be going to the gym or lifting weights. It could be doing some of the NIA stuff we just saw, or jumping on a bed, or going for a walk. But for you, find something so you can move your body. So, in conclusion, what I hope you will take away from this, in addition to butts and masturbation, is that happiness really is within your reach. You don't have to wait for people in your life to change. You don't have to wait for your bank account to change. You don't have to wait for your health to change. You can make the changes right now. And I realize that may seem like a dream that isn't achievable, but it is. I've worked with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people that prove this. And it's true whether I'm being interviewed by CNN about how to deal with the economy, or I'm working with Fortune 500 companies on how to reduce stress and increase productivity, or I'm on stage with Montel Williams talking about chronic pain. The concepts are the same. The concepts are the same. Eleanor Roosevelt once said, "No one can make you feel inferior without your consent." Think about that. No one can make you feel inferior without your consent. I say, no one can make you feel happy without your consent. So please, get a smaller butt and be a happier you. Thank you. Is that a little quick? Thanks.
Well, with a bright, cheerful face like yours, it's so much easier to be happy.
No,
Thank you
so
so
I
much.
appreciate it. Thank you.